ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So, welcome back to one more session of the Bhagavad Gita. Today we'll look at the last three shlokas of the 9th chapter. Some controversial shloka. Now, that's why I thought I'll finish up with 31 yesterday. 32 is a controversial shloka, so we can spend some time discussing it. And then we can do a quick recap of the 9th chapter. And then, if time permits, we can finish a few verses of the 10th Adhyaya. So we were here, right? So even a person steeped in wicked deeds, once she takes on to the worship of the highest being, once they go towards the path of towards the path of realizing Brahman, immediately they are they break free from all the past bonds. The 32nd shloka, the very, very controversial shloka. Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi syuhu papa yonayah striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi yanti param gatim. So the import of the verse is that whoever takes refuge in the Supreme, Krishna says, whoever takes refuge in me, even the people who are deemed to be of sinful birth, even women, traders, laborers, everybody will attain the highest supreme goal. So Partha, Arjuna, Papa Yonayaha, the people who are sinful births, Papa Yonayaha, ye api striyaha, as well as women, Vaishyaha, Vaishyas, or the trading, the Varna which is associated with trading and cattle bearing business, so merchants, and Tatha Shudraha, the Varna which is associated with the service industry, serving people, physical labor. Syuhu, even though they api mam vyapashritya, if they take refuge in me, param gatim yanti hi, they attain the highest state. What is the basic import of the verse? Irrespective of their background, whatever people they may be, whoever they may be, they will attain the highest goal. Now, the basic import of the verse is that irrespective of the background, there is always the potential of attaining the highest goal. Now, the question, the controversy that arises here is why are women, Vaishyas, Shudras, and people of sinful birth, put clubbed together and as if that they are some not important people. Okay. Now, there's another complication that arises here. Some of the commentators consider these three categories, women, Vaishya, and Shudra, to be a subset of Papa Yonaya, the people of sinful birth. So they deem these three groups as sinful births. Then there is another set of commentators who take this Papa Yonaya as a different category. Now, in any case, so in our translation, we have preferred the latter, that whether they are men of sinful birth, people of sinful birth, or women, or Vaishyas or Shudras, we have taken it as four separate categories. But even if somebody takes it as three categories of Papayonia, the Papayonis, the basic import is the same, that there are always some groups of people who are disadvantaged in society. Now, the society looks up to certain groups of people, looks down upon certain groups of people at any place, any time, any society in the world, even today, whether it's in India, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in, in the United States, or whether it's in Brazil, wherever you go, there will be some group of people who are kept in a very high pedestal. So let's say in the last 30 years, if you're a software engineer, it's a big deal. during the freedom movement in India, if you were a lawyer, it was a barrister, it was a big deal. So there is always some section of people who are held very high, and society treats them with a great adulation. Like if you're a cinema star, or if you're a sports player, if you're an athlete, these people are given great value in the society. Then there are some people that society looks down upon, some groups of people. So what Krishna is saying is, even though society, so the word syuhu is very important here, even though that people may deem these groups of people, the society may deem these groups of people as lower in the hierarchy, irrespective of gender, birth, occupation, all these parameters, everybody who has got that samarpana bhava, who submits to the Supreme, has the potential for liberation. Now, in multiple places in the Bhagavad Gita, we will see that the 12th chapter, in the 16th chapter, there are multiple places where Krishna lists out all the good qualities, noble traits in human beings. But in none of these places, he connects it to men and women. He doesn't connect it to any varna. He doesn't connect guna and varna. So, the trigunas. He does, when he talks about the trigunas in chapter 14, 17, 18, he doesn't connect it to varna. So, therefore, it's important that he is basically saying, however the society may look down upon it, definitely societies had a higher regard for certain groups of people, and lower regard for other groups of people. Today the situation may be different. Certain people who were looked down upon 100 years ago, today they may be the heroes. Now, just a simple example I will tell you. In the 19th century and the early part of 20th century, it was very unusual for people who are from the Brahmana community to get into performing arts like music and dance. It was mostly the kind of family profession, especially in Tamil Nadu, for example, of certain communities like Isai Velala Pillai, in Devadasi community. These people had the expertise in music and dance for a long time, because it was believed that the Brahmanas who are in that community should not go and perform music or dance in public. They should be involved in some spiritual activities and not work for money and so on. But what happened when people like slowly, like when MS Subbalakshmi and Vasant Kumari, Patamal, and these people and the women singers, and then Chamangudi and Arekudi, all these people from the male singers, they slowly started performing Carnatic music. And then in the case of dance, people like Padma Subramaniam, when all these people started performing, by the end of the 20th century, many of the performers of music and dance were from the Brahmana community. And of course, the Isai Vedala community also continued, many of the great Nadaswaram Vidwans and so on. So within about 100 years, what was a taboo, today it became, no, today a Carnatic musician or a Carnatic dancer, they are like rock stars. They have got so much of fame and people look up to them. Whereas the same thing for a person from that community in the late 19th century wanted to go and perform some singing or music or something, it was looked down upon. Similarly, in the North India also, Nikhil Banerjee, the famous sitarist, he said in an interview that his family was not very supportive in the initial days, because we are not supposed to go and play. We are supposed to be priests in some temple. We are not supposed to do this music business. So within 100 years, the whole thing changed. And now today, maybe there are more people who are interested to learn Carnatic music. Another 50 years later, the main people who are holding Carnatic music may be another community or another group of people. So uh, like similar, even in the case of gender distribution, right? In the through the 20th century, a lot of male singers were very, very dominant and very popular. In the last 20 25 years, most of the popular singers in Carnatic music are women singers. So they are really very, very prominent. Whether it's Randini Gayatri, Bombay Jayashree, Aruna Sairam, or Sudha Raghunathan, all the top artists today in Carnatic music, many, especially the singers, are women singers. So, like this, always is a cycle, and things keep changing, and society will be evolving. What was taboo in one era will be not taboo in another era. It will be celebrated. What was celebrated in one era will become taboo in another era. So, despite the changes in society, despite there will always be some people who are looked down upon, there will be always some people who are looked up to. This will change. At that point of time, possibly society looked down upon these groups of people. And what Krishna is saying is, even though society may look down upon them, even though they may be treated with less regard as compared to the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, as regarded to the men, it doesn't matter to me. They will also attain the highest level. So you can see that there is a certain practical aspect here, rather than it is not intending, is the verse intending to put down somebody. It is just observing a practical reality. That at that point of time, the society was looking down on certain groups of people, and therefore, even they have the option to rise up. When they say, for example, Papa Yoni, sometimes if a person commits a crime, goes to jail, and his son or daughter is growing up, from the younger days, they are growing up as a son or daughter of a criminal. What kind of value they will have in society? It's very difficult for such a family. They have not done any mistake. Their father is a criminal. He has done some murder, or he has done some bank robbery or whatever. He's serving time in prison. But the stigma associated with the children and the wife is not going to go away easily. So they have to work very hard, and they will be looked down upon. But Krishna is saying, even if they are born in this kind of sinful birth, or if a child of an illegitimate marriage, without a proper framework, there is a child that is born, illegitimate child. Again, so much of stigma. It's not, is it the child's mistake? No. But the child has to bear that because of whatever circumstances. Even in such cases, irrespective of all background, they can attain the highest level. That's what really this verse means. I hope the controversy around it is, you can understand why there is controversy, I hope, and the clarification for that. Somebody tomorrow says, hey, look at the Bhagavad Gita, it is demeaning women. You can say, no, it's not demeaning women. It's basically saying everybody has an equal opportunity to attain the highest state. So, Mam hi partha vyapashritya.
Mam hi partha vyapashritya.
Yepi syuh papayonayah.
Yepi syuh papayonayah.
Striyo vaishyas tatha shudraha.
Striyo vaishyas tatha shudraha.
Tepi yanti param gatim.
Tepi yanti param gatim.
Kim punar brahmanaha punya bhakta rajarshyastatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. So what more to say of the pure and wise people, the devotees, the brahmanas, the rajarshis who take refuge in me? Having entered this fleeting and unhappy world, engage yourself in the worship of the Supreme. So punyaha bhaktaha. So the devoted, the people who have attained punya, the pure and the devoted ones, the bhaktaha, brahmanaha, the brahmanas, tatha rajarishayaha. Even among the kshatriyas, the rajarishis, the people who are like a philosopher kings. What more to say of them? Tesham Vishay, as far as they are concerned, punah kim vaktavyam. What more to say in the case of these people? Tasmat, therefore, it's again to be understood. Imam anityam asukham lokam. This anityam, which is not permanent, transient or a temporary world, and asukham, not filled with happiness. It's a sorrowful, unhappy world. Imam anityam asukham lokam prapya, having attained this fleeting and unhappy world, engage in my worship. Mam bhajasva, engage in worship of the Supreme. So now we saw in the previous verse the groups that society look down upon, and here there are groups that society looks up to: the devotees, the brahmanas, the raja rishis, the wise kings who are wise rulers like Janaka and others, people who are devotees who have done punya karya and so on. And what more to say of them? When I am saying that people, when the groups of people society looks down upon, even the last person in society has the potential to attain the highest, then what more to say of the people that society reveres and people who are already engaged in good activities? They will definitely attain the highest. There's no doubt about that. And having come into this world which is transient, temporary, and which is filled with dukkha, it is better to engage yourself in worship of the Supreme. Now, this verse, especially the second half, can give you a sense that, oh, why is this sounding a little bit like Buddha's rejection of the world? The world is full of sorrow. Because that is what the basic proposition of the Buddha. World is full of sorrow, and to transcend this, you have to do meditation and get beyond this. This does not mean the world does not have happiness. When he says that anityam asukham lokam, it just means that the world is transient. This is a factual information. It is not permanent, right? In a sense, as far as you are concerned, there is as far as from your point of view, your birth, your existence is eternal. Till the time you are alive, your existence is there. The moment you die, you don't exist. So therefore, there's no question of you recognizing that you are dead. Somebody else will recognize that you are dead. But your existence is eternal as far as you are concerned. But when you see the society around you, that you see that there is a birth and death. And there is birth and death, even for there is same thing applies all the way up to Brahma. Brahma is born, he lives for 100 years, then Brahma dies, another Brahma is born. So same thing for human beings and all the entire gamut of things except Brahman, which is beyond birth and death. So anityam, it's very obvious that whatever is born will have to die in this world. Then asukham. Now, when you say asukham, that there is no sukha, it's a little tricky. So the way I look at it, I can tell you, I can't say that this is a observation of the world, because anityam is very obvious. Everybody knows it. But asukham, one way of looking at it is that any sukha is naturally followed by dukkha. Because sukha is a material pleasure, dukkha is a material pain, physical pain or emotional pain. Sukha is a physical, emotional pleasure. So, because this pleasure is triggered from an external source, the moment that external source dries up, we experience emptiness or dukkha. Or in the case of some very physical enjoyments, sukha leads to dukkha. For example, if you are eating a lot of food, you go to a fantastic place for unlimited meals, buffet, super unlimited meals. So you may enjoy for 1 hour, 1.5 hours with your friends. You may eat everything on the menu, but after some time you will get stomach pain. So the sukha is followed by dukkha. So in any physical enjoyment follows this law of diminishing returns. So you watch one movie, it's fantastic. You really enjoyed one movie. Can you watch 2 movies back to back? Well, some of you may be able to watch 2 movies back to back. Can you watch 3 movies back to back? Because one movie gave you a lot of enjoyment. So 3 movies should give you 3 times enjoyment. So you watch 3 movies back to back. By the time you will have a headache. If you try to watch 4 movies back to back, then you are exhausted. You will get your eyes will be hurting, your ears will be hurting, your head will be throbbing. You will crave to go and sleep. So, like that, this has this law of diminishing returns. If initially it is a lot of pleasure, if you keep doing it, doesn't keep increasing. Eventually, it leads to pain. It leads to trouble. So, therefore, physical pleasures have very short shelf life. So, therefore, real sukha, real large of happiness is not there unless you realize Brahman. In the material plane, always sukha is followed by dukkha. So maybe he's talking about that. Basically, what he says is, whatever be your background, if you worship the Supreme, if you connect with Brahman, you will attain Brahman. And having come into this world, which is impermanent and having no, there's no sukha that doesn't come with a dukkha. Therefore, you worship the Supreme. So, kim punar brahmana punya.
Kim punar brahmanaha punya.
Bhakta rajarishayas
Bhakta rajarshayas tatha.
anityam asukham lokam
Anityam asukham lokam.
Imam prapya bhajasva mam.
Imam prapya bhajasvamam.
Finally, Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru mam evaishyasi yuktavaivam atmanam mat parayanaha. Atmanam mat parayanaha. So fix your goal on me, be devoted to me, worship me, bow down to me, seek me as the supreme goal with all your heart. You will certainly be united with me. So man manaha madhyaji. So man manaha, fix your mind on me. Again, like I said, whenever there is a reference to me, Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Brahman, all these things are synonyms. So fix your mind on Brahman, fix your mind on Krishna. Madhyaji, be devoted to me. Mad bhaktaha, worship, become my devotee. Mad bhaktaha bhava. Mam namaskuru, bow down to me. Evam Atmanam yuktva mat parayanah mam eva eshyasi. So, evam atmanam yuktva. Therefore, seeking me with all your heart, mat parayanah. So, and always be connected with me. Mam eva eshyasi. You will certainly be united with me. You will certainly attain the highest. So, the 4 verses here, he talks about how the path of devotion leads to liberation. Even an evil person can attain goodness and peace if they take this path. And irrespective of the age, the gender, the social background, economic background, occupation, position in society, everybody has potential to attain the highest level. One question one may get, especially when they see verses like this, is that question may arise: is Krishna being arrogant? Fix your mind on me, be devoted to me, bow down to me, seek me as the supreme goal, and so on and so forth, right? Any person in their normal mind will not say this, because it will, even if he is an egoistic person, even if he is a politician, even if he is a statesman, even if he is a modern day guru, he or she will not say this directly, because he will want to at least appear not egoistic, even though he may be egoistic. Because Krishna transcended all ego, he can say this. Because he is identifying with Brahman, he can say this. It is not a thing of arrogance or ego, because there is no ego here. He has transcended that whole thing, and it is the voice of Brahman. It is the voice of the Supreme Spirit that is speaking here. So, therefore, one need not think that it is he is being so self-centered. He's saying, "You bow down to me. I am super duper." No, that's not the idea at all. It is the voice of the Brahman. So, man mana bhava mad bhakto.
Manmana bhava madbhakto.
Madhyaji mam namaskuru.
Madhyaji mam namaskuru.
Mam evaishyasi yuktvaivam.
Mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam.
Atmanam mat parayanaha.
Atmanam matparayanaha.
One question that may arise with the especially that controversial verse that I said, and in some of the other few other references to Varna in the Bhagavad Gita, is that, oh, is Krishna partial to Brahmanas, or is Krishna unduly not favoring Shudras and Vaishyas and so on? When we look at the life of Krishna, it becomes amply clear. He was born to a Kshatriya family, Kshatriya parents, but even before he could recognize anything, when he was just at a moment of within a few minutes of his birth, he was transported to across the Yamuna to Gokula, where he grew up among the cowherds who are basically Vaishyas, right? So all his childhood, he grew up practically like from the community of Vaishyas. Then later on, after he became when he crossed his teenage and he came to Mathura, he killed Kamsa and started setting up the kingdom and so on. He was doing the work of a strategist, of a thinker, which is kind of what Kshatriya does. he was trying to build alliances, strengthen the larger thing of the Pandavas and so on. So a lot of the work was like the strategist. And also part of it was like what the Chanakya was doing, where it is very, very specifically like a ministerial thing, where some element of the Brahma also comes in. Then when it comes to teaching Bhagavad Gita and this kind of thing, again, the role of the Brahmana, Raja Rishi, this kind of thing come in. And finally, in the Kurukshetra war, the most important war, the pan-Indian war, which is getting the kings from all over the land, he chooses not to fight, and he takes the role of a charioteer, which is that of a Suta, which is basically one of the Varnas that come under the Shudras. So he, in his own life, he has seen all the Varnas. He has done the work of all the Varnas. In the Rajasuya Yajna, when Yudhishthira does the Rajasuya Yajna, everybody is given some, task who are part of the family. And the task that was given to Krishna is to take care of everybody's footwear. So he is the manager of the chapel stand in the Rajasuya Yajna. This guy is the great strategist and one of the greatest characters in the epic. What is he doing there? He's managing the chapels. So, which means what? He doesn't have any ego. He doesn't have any s. Whatever is assigned to him, he will do it. Whatever is right, he will do it. So, in his own life, we see him doing a variety of things that will traditionally come under one of the four varnas. Similarly, in our own lives, we may be born in a certain family, but we may be doing things that relate to all the different varnas. Traditionally, when we see the classification, and today when we see it, we in our own lives we will be doing things in different bits and pieces of other all the varnas. So therefore, according to his definition, guna and karma determine varna, and all the varnas are important. However, societies tend to look up to or look down upon certain groups. We should not worry about that. All of them have equal potential to reach the highest goal. So they cannot get more inclusive, more rational than this, because there is an innate difference in the human society. There is distinction. There are groups that are created even today. You can't say that all humans are the same one group. Only there is one human race. It's okay as a philosophy, as an ideal. It's very nice. All of us are one family. The world is one family, and so on. Even in our tradition in Mahopanishad, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family. We all everything together. That is fine. As an ideal, it's very very good. But practically, there are certain groups of people with certain tendencies, certain skills, certain certain strengths and weaknesses, and so on, which can be utilized for the development of the society as a whole. So it's important to recognize the differences, but not harp on the differences, to try to overcome the differences. So that we can see in the Gita. So I hope I've clarified this notion that, there is no discrimination against anybody. At the same time, they are not blind to the fact that there is differences among people in society. There is differences between the different groups is also recognized. And at the same time, the attempt is always to try and unite people, to bring people together. So let's quickly look at the ninth chapter. Now, I'll just one second. I'm just looking for. Okay, so we'll just run through the. I thought I'll give you from DVG's thing, but it's okay. What does this talk about? So initially, Krishna starts off the ninth chapter by saying, "This is the greatest of secrets." So you may think, "Oh well, is it some kind of a marketing trick? This is the best of secrets. This is the greatest of teachings," but it is not really a marketing trick, because what he is trying to say, why is it a secret? Why is it the best of secrets? Because it is not so easily accessible, not so easy to practice to everybody. Now, when we say accessible, really, what does it mean? It's not that, for example, all the knowledge is available. Okay, anything today, all the Upanishads are there online, all Bhagavad Gita is there, all the Vedas are there. It is not that things are not accessible in terms of the content, but what is not accessible is for everybody is the implementation of this wisdom. It is not so easy for us to implement that wisdom, and it's not available for everyone. That's what is the challenge here. Now everybody knows that now, after you have attended so many classes, we know that karma yoga is the most sensible way to do our work, not to be bothered about the results, to try and focus on our action. We can't control the results, so therefore we try to focus on the work at hand. But how many of us can actually bring it to practice? It's very difficult. So therefore, the jnana and vijnana, right? Practical, the theoretical knowledge coupled with practical application, experiential wisdom, vijnana. When these two come together, then we will get that higher state. It's a secret not because it is not known to people. It is a secret because it is very difficult to practice. So only few people know the real meaning of this. The secret is in the realization of this jnana vijnana, right? And he, of course, says this is the greatest of all mysteries and so on. One is, it's probably could be a little bit of poetic exaggeration, but more than anything else, this is uh, very difficult to realize in practice, and it requires certain amount of effort, and not everybody is cut out for it. So that's why in our tradition, starting from worshipping of murti puja and ritual yajna, all the way up to Advaita, the core of Advaita philosophy, we have a complete range of things. So there is everybody, depending on their point in a spiritual journey, they take whatever is relevant to them. So that's why, I think it was Swami Vivekananda, he famously said, if we say that idol worship is a sin, like some of the people are saying, then childhood is a sin. Can we say childhood is a sin? No, childhood is a necessary step to become adult. Teenage is a necessary step to become an adult. So all these are different stages. Now, everybody cannot attain that highest truth of Advaita. That's the reason why the number of takers for the core Buddhism or core Advaita very few, because it is very difficult. It's only for few people. But for the larger population, there are different paths that are easily accessible, that can be practiced, that can be applied. And as and when we graduate in our spiritual journey, we can take on something more, something with a little more intensity, with a little more focus on realizing, then moving slightly towards Jnana Marga, trying to implement some of the things in practice and so on. But the important thing is there must be something which is for everybody. If we give a solution that works only for few people, then it is not a very good solution. It's not a very practical solution. Then he talks about how the Brahman pervades the whole universe, and then the idea I told you about, the timelines, the idea of the cosmic day and cosmic night. A day of Brahma is considered to be a cosmic day, or one kalpa, which is 4.32 billion years in human years. And a night of Brahma has the same duration. After the night is over, the day begins again, and all the srishti happens. There is Titi for this 4.32 billion years. Then there is Laya, which is dissolution or clearing up for the sake of new creation. So don't get confused that Pralaya means destruction, annihilation. So sometimes in the Western world also, Shiva, the god of death. No. Shiva is the god of dissolution, who cleans up for the sake of the next srishti. So there is a big difference, right? When you destroying something is different from dissolution for the sake of the next. So in the morning when you wake up, you pour water in front of your house to clean up all the remnants of the previous day's rangoli, and then you can put new rangoli. You are not destroying the floor. You are cleaning up, you are preparing ground for the new creation, right? Then Krishna talks about how nature brings forth all the beings under my supervision. So the Brahman is kind of a eternal witness to what is happening. Similarly, I told you in the Yajna, we have these multiple Ritviks. There is one Ritvik, one group of Ritviks who are in the Brahma Sthana, the Brahma. That job of this Brahma Ritvik is just to observe everything and see what's happening, ensure that things are going fine. That Brahmasthanam Ritvik will not even move from his place. He will be sitting in one place. He is seeing every small detail what is happening, and anything small change he will pinpoint. So that's why he is a supervisor. So Adhyaksha, we say Adhyaksha, one who sees from above everything, overseer. So people who don't recognize the divinity when the Supreme comes in a human form are, foolish, and they are, uh, they don't recognize my higher state. They are deluded. One way of looking at it is when Vishnu or Bhagavan takes an avatara and comes in the form of Krishna or Rama, and people are failing. They fail to see the divinity in this person. They are deluded and so on. They fail to look beyond physical appearances. Another way of looking at this shloka is that people who fail to see the divinity in another person, people who fail to see that supreme being in another person, are also deluded. A real Jivan Mukta, realized person will be able to see the same divinity everywhere, which is what he said in the sixth adhyaya, if you remember. He says, Atma Upamena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati Yo Arjuna. So, like that, a realized person can see the divinity everywhere, and definitely in Krishna also. After talking about the deluded people, then Krishna talks about the noble people, the devotees, and the great souls who abide in divinity. They are aware of the eternal nature of the Brahman. They worship Bhagavan Sri Krishna with focus, and they glorify the Supreme with intense devotion, and some of the people who are engaged in jnana yajna, the cultivation of knowledge and wisdom, they approach this in a different way, but they still realize the oneness of Brahman and so on. Later, there is in the 16th shloka, there is a verse which is very similar to what we saw in the 4th chapter, that Krishna says, I am the ritual, I am the yajna, I am the mantra, the offering that nourishes, and I am the fuel, I am the fire. Same like Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, that same concept, because Krishna and Brahman, I told you, are synonyms. Then from the 16th, 17th verse onwards, he again talks about his nature. Again, we should take it as the nature of the Supreme Being. That I am the Lord, the friend, the witness, creation, dissolution, sustenance, the three Vedas, the father and mother, and the supporter, grandfather of all the beings. And the ones who are really desirous to understand this, who are well versed in the Veda, they lead their life aligned to the path of the Veda, and they attain Swarga. Once their punya is exhausted, they are again born in the human world, and they lead a life which is a good quality life. And slowly they try over multiple births to cleanse their taint, cleanse the attachments to action and so on. The ultimate idea is to come out of this cycle of birth and death. There is again in the Ananyas Chintayantoma, there is an assurance that people who are sincerely devoted to the Supreme will take care of their welfare, of their yoga and kshema. Yoga, I told you, is acquiring something new that we desire. Kshema is protecting what we already have. So, preserving what we have acquired. So, both yoga and kshema is taken care of by Bhagavan. Then he says, even though people may be worshipping different deities, ultimately they are worshipping the Brahman. There is no distinction. So we have the famous shloka in the Rig Veda, if you remember, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. So the truth is one. The different people worship it differently. So some of them may call it Indra, some of them may call it Matarishva, some of them may call it Varuna, some may call it Ganapati or Devi or Parvati, Lakshmi or whatever. So we have so many deities in our tradition. Any of the deities, whatever we are worshipping, whether it is, we may also worship multiple deities. Some people are very fond of both Ganapati and Hanuman. Some people are very fond of both Rama and Krishna. Some people are only interested in Shiva. Some people are only interested in Vishnu. We have all these combination. Doesn't matter. You can be from any of these groups. Ultimately, you are worshipping the supreme being, and the supreme accepts whatever you are offering, whether it's a fruit or a flower or a leaf or water. Anything offered with devotion is something very, very happily accepted by the supreme being, because the spirit of offering is very important. It is not what we are giving, it is how we are giving that matters more. What we are giving also matters, of course, but how we are offering it is very important. Now, somebody may, if you go to somebody's house, they may have a very nice tray and some silverware and that and this. But if they are very rude, I've kept this coffee. If you want, you can take it. How is the reaction? Whereas somebody who is giving you in some ever silver tumbler, like a thing, small cup of coffee, which is doesn't taste good also, but with so much of love and affection, you would rather prefer that than best, gourmet coffee, which is just yeah, this coffee kept there. If you want, you can take it. Or here, you have come to our house. We are so grateful to you. And here is some whatever coffee or some whatever it is, right? So the way in which we are treated matters much more than other things. The surroundings may be clean, may not be clean. It may be a palace or it may be a small hut. These fade into the background the moment the person who is offering to us connects with us, right? So therefore, Krishna says, whatever is offered, I accept it. And in the 27th shloka says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in worship, whatever you give up in dana, whatever tapas you do. So in yajna, dana, tapas, karma, whatever, you do that as a dedication to the Supreme. So work, offering that as a dedication to the Supreme. So we see that later also in the 12th adhyaya. When this spirit of dedication to the Supreme is cultivated, naturally we move away from the result, right? When we have studied that the focus should be on the work and not on the possible results, when we are working and dedicating it to some Supreme Being, then naturally we move away from some expectations. We are doing it because we want to offer it to Supreme. So we move away from expectations. Therefore, the possibility of karma yoga increases. Finally, he says, I'm equally present in all beings and nobody is hateful or dear to me, and everybody has the potential to attain the highest state. Roughly, this is the 9th chapter in a nutshell. We'll go to the 10th chapter now. We'll look at a few verses. Again, in the 10th chapter, Krishna starts off without any question from Arjuna. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. भूय एव महाबाहो शृणु मे परम वचः यत्तेहं प्रीयमाणाय वक्ष्यामि हितकाम्यया. So listen to more of my supreme words, O mighty one. I speak these words for your good because you are dear to me and you are interested in what I have to say. Mahabaho, an address to Arjuna, mighty armed, Bhuyah eva me param vachah shunu yat aham priyamanaya te hitakamyaya vakshyami. So, Bhuyah eva me param vachah shunu. So, listen to more of my supreme words, yat aham, which I priyamanaya te, I am telling you because you are dear to me. Hita kamyaya vakshami. I'm saying vakshami. Hita kamyaya with a mind towards your welfare. Why am I saying this? Because you're priyamana. You're somebody who is dear to me. Therefore, aham vakshami. I'm telling you. This is true any situation when we are offering some advice and the other person is receptive to our advice. We feel like sharing more. Whereas if you are giving some advice and the other person is just, yeah, whatever, man. Okay, go on. Then our motivation to share things also comes down. So here, not only is Arjuna a dear friend of Krishna, he is also interested in what Krishna has to say. Therefore, he says, I'm continuing to say this. Listen to more of my words because you are interested. I'm sharing these things with you. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Bhuya eva Mahabaho
भूय एव महाबाहो
Shrunu me param vachaha
शृणु मे परमं वचः
paramam vachaha yat teham priyamanaya
यत्तेऽहं प्रीयमाणाय
pakshyami hitakamyaya.
वक्ष्यामि हितकाम्यया
न मे विदुः सुरगणाः प्रभवं न महर्षयः अहम् अहमादिर्हि देवानां महर्षीणां च सर्वशः. So even the devas and the great maharishis do not know my origin, because in every way I am the source of them all. So Suraganaha, the group of suras, the Suragana, the group of devatas, may prabhavam na viduhu. They don't know my beginning. They don't know my origin. Prabhava is origin. Viduhu, they don't know. Na viduhu, they don't know. Maharshayah na. So also the Maharshis, great Maharshis, do not know my origin. Aham hi sarvashah devanam maharshinam cha adihi. I am sarvashah, all devanam maharshinam. I am the origin of all devas and maharshis. Adihi is like the origin, the root, the source of all these divine beings and the great sages. नमे विदुः सुरगणाः
न मे विदुः सुरगणाः
प्रभवं न महर्षयः
प्रभवं न महर्षयः
अहमादिर्हि देवानां
अहमादिर्हि देवानां
महर्षीणां च सर्वशः.
महर्षीणां च सर्वशः
यो माम् अजमनादिं च वेत्ति लोकमहेश्वरम् असम्मूढः स मर्त्येषु सर्वपापैः प्रमुच्यते. So I am the supreme lord of the universe without birth or beginning. And one who knows this has understood me correctly and is free from all evil. Yaha asammudaha mam ajam anadim loka maheshwaram cha vetti saha martyeshu sarva papai pramuchyate. So yaha, one who asammudaha, who is like, not deluded, who is clear in mind, who has understood correctly. Mam ajam anadim. So I am unborn and I don't have a beginning. So I don't have birth or beginning. Ajam anadim. Aja is unborn, without birth. Anadi is without beginning. Who knows me as Ajam and Anadi, Loka Maheshwaram, who knows me as the Lord of the world, who is the Lord of the universe, Supreme Lord of the universe, Cha Vetti, one who knows this, Vetti, Saha, such a person, he, Martyeshu Sarva Papaihi Pramuchyate. So he, among the mortals, he is freed from all evil. Now, realizing that this supreme being exists and is beyond birth and beginning, what does it really mean? The people who realize, who recognize a greater force that governs the cosmic order, they attain a sense of humility. And when we have always said, right, in the earlier sessions also, in our tradition, knowing is not just a theoretical knowledge. When we know something truly, it means that we have realized it in our experience. We have got the value. We have realized the value of that in our experience. It is not just theoretically saying, oh, yes, there is the Supreme Spirit. When we realize it in our experience, then only then we truly know. So, therefore, one who has understood this correctly is free from all evil, right? So, to understand this means the realization that it is all pervaded by the Supreme Brahman, cultivating that true humility and leading the life with that awareness always. Then the person is freed from evil. It is no use saying, yes, yes, there is Brahman, all pervading Brahman, let me go back to my life of crime. That is not a realization of Brahman. It means when you realize that everything is Brahman, then who to steal from, who is the one who's stealing, who is the one to steal from? Everything becomes one. Then there is no question, you will never become a thief when you realize this. It is only when you don't realize this, you see that other person is different, I am different, he has more, I have less, I have to steal from him. So one who has understood this correctly attains that real humility and is freed from all the evil. So Yoma Majam Anadimcha
Yoma Majamanadinja
Vetti Loka Maheshwaram
Vetti Loka Maheshwaram
Asammudaha Samartyeshu
Asammudaha Samarthyeshu
Sarva Papaihi Pramuchyate.
Sarva Papaihi Pramuchyate.
Buddhirjnanam asammoha Kshama Satyam Damah Shamaha Sukham Dukkham Bhavo Bhavo Bhayam Cha Bhayameva Cha. Then this is just hanging midway. So these two verses are connected. So buddhir jnanam asammoha kshama satyam damah shamaha sukham dukkham bhavo bhavo bhayam cha bhayam eva cha ahimsa samata tushtis tapodanam yasho yashaha bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva prathak vidaha. So these two verses are together. So intellect, wisdom, clarity, forgiveness, truth, self-control, calmness, joy, sorrow, birth, death, fear, courage, benevolence, equanimity, fulfillment, austerity, generosity, fame, infamy. All these traits of all beings arise from me alone. So buddhi, intellect, jnanam, wisdom, asammoha, not deluded, having clarity, Kshama, sense of forgiveness, forbearance, Satyam, honesty, integrity, Damaha, self-control, Shamaha, kind of calmness and control, Sukham, Dukkham, pleasure, pain, joy, sorrow. Then Bhavaha, Abhavaha, so birth and death. Bhayam, fear, Abhayam, courage, lacking no fear, courage. Evacha, Ahimsa, not injuring others, non-injury, benevolence, then samatha, equanimity, tushtihi, fulfillment, contentment, satisfaction, tapaha, which is austerity, focus, hard work, danam, which is generosity, philanthropy, giving, then yashaha, fame, ayashaha, infamy, prithak vidaha, these different varieties of things, all these things, bhavaha, prithak vidaha, bhavaha, all these emotions, all these traits, bhutana, among the humans, among all the beings, mattaha eva bhavanti. They all arise from me. They are all part of my, they are originate from me. So all the good, bad, ugly, everything originates from Brahman. Basically, that's what he's trying to say. Pretty straightforward shloka. Set of shlokas. So buddhir jnanam asammoha
Buddhir Jnanam Asammoha
kshama satyam damah shamaha
Kshama Satyam Damah Shamaha
sukham dukkham bhavo bhavo
Sukham Dukkham Bhavo Bhavo
bhayam cha bhayam evacha.
Bhayam Cha Bhayam Evacha.
Then ahimsa samata tushtihi
Ahimsa Samata Tushtihi
tapodanam yasho yashaha
Tapodanam Yasho Yashaha
bhavanti bhava bhutanam
Bhavanti Bhava Bhutanam
matta eva prithag vidaha.
Matta Eva Prutag Vidhaha.
महर्षयः सप्त पूर्वे चत्वारो मनवस्तथा मद्भावा मानसा जाता येषां लोक इमाः प्रजाः. The seven Maharishis, the four ancient ones, and the Manus are all projections of my thought, and they have powers like mine. The creatures of the world, all the beings came forth from them. So Sapta Maharshayah, the seven great Maharshis, Tatha Purve, the Tatha Purve Chatvaraha, the four ancient ones, Manavaha, the 14 Manus, the 14 is, we understood, the Manus, Mad Bhavaha, Manasaha Jata. So Mad Bhava, they have powers of mind. Manasaha Jata, they are projections of my thought. They have emerged from my thought. Yesham Imah Prajaha Loke. So they are the people who have caused all the creatures of the world to arise. There are, in our tradition, we have the Sapta Rishi or Sapta Maharishis, which are in different Puranas and different sources. There are different lists, but typically Atri, Bhrigu, Vasishta, Kashyapa, Gautama, all these sages, they are the important sages. Seven of them are said to be the set of seven great sages. Then there are four ancient ones, which is Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara. These are Manasa Putras of Vishnu, I think. So there are four ancient ones. And the 14 Manus. We have the Swayambhuva, Swarosha, Uttama, all the 14 Manus who are responsible for one Manvantara. So the idea is, you remember, we had the day of Brahma, which spans 4.32 billion years. That is called one Kalpa. This one Kalpa is divided into 14 units called as Manvantaras, and each Manvantara is governed by one Manu. So this so I think there, even now we are in some seventh or eighth Manu. I don't know exactly, but every Manvantara is governed by a certain Manu, and that is one period, a notable period in that Kalpa. Kalpa is very big, and every different point of thing. So we have day and night, we have fortnight, we have a month, which is Shukla Paksha plus Krishna Paksha. Then we have Ayana, which is Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, 2 halves of the year. Then we have Samvatsara, then Samvatsara Chakra of 60 years. Like this, different points of thing, we have different sizes of the time periods. One of this is Manvantara, which is a Kalpa divided into 14 parts. So there are these 14 Manus. All these, the Maharshis, the ancient ones, and the Manus, they're all projections of my thought, he says, and they have the powers like mine. And the creatures of the world came forth from these noble people. In fact, many of us can, the whole idea when we say Gotra, we can connect to one of the seven or one of the great Maharshis. That's what the Gotra is. So we can take our lineage back to one of the Maharshis. And from Manu, we have the Manava. We say Manava for human beings. The name Manava comes from Manu. Everybody has descended from Manu. That's the idea. So they have these 14 Manus and the 4 ancient ones and the 7 Maharshis have caused the origin of the human race. So in some sense, whatever different Varna, whatever different groupings, all of us have a common origin in these, which is further common origin in Brahman. So that also is a unifying factor for the whole world. Maharshayah Sapta Purve.
Maharshayah Sapta Purve.
Chatvaro Manavastatha.
Chatvaro Manavastatha.
Madbhava Manasa Jata.
Madbhava Manasa Jata.
Yesham Loka Imah Prajaha.
Yesham Loka Imah Prajaha.
Thank you, Suma. Sometimes when I made mistakes, you corrected it. So very good. That's why I always encourage people to recite, because most of you are better than me in recitation. So they don't have to feel afraid. Some mistakes. But there's one question, I don't know whether this time. So what is the objective of the bad or ugly nature emanating from Brahman? Prahlad ji has a question. When we define Brahman as something which is a superset of everything, then naturally the good, bad, ugly, everything will be part of it. So Brahman is not deciding that this should be there, this should not be there. All these things emerge from human understanding. We make certain distinctions, likes, dislikes, good, bad, dharma, adharma. All these things are human construct. The definition of Brahman is all pervasive, supreme being. We will see even in the 10th and 11th adhyayas that Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, identifies himself with the best of everything, including he will identify with gambling, identify with so many things where you may wonder why is this happening. The basic idea is that it is an all-inclusive notion of Brahman, which has everything in the human transaction, in the human world, for the sake of dharma, for the sake of sustainability of the human world, we choose to tread the path of good and noble rather than take the path of evil or the wicked path. But when we see the conception of Brahman, it is all inclusive, all pervasive. So I hope I've given some kind of an answer. If you have any further question, please feel free to send me a mail or send me on WhatsApp. We'll meet after the weekend. If you are in Bangalore, please go and vote. I will